and then you guys stay dry? The house?
The house, because it sets up higher, but our lane is, I'm worried about the little bit of rain we got. Cause we go through a pasture out by Pittsers and through our pasture and down to our house. But I can get through the pickup, but rut's about like this. And then up by where Dean drives the semi up by the shop, oh, Kyle jumped down in the hole, it dug out there and it was up to his neck. We got a big rut, and then there was a spot that went between two bins, and luckily a tree had started growing there. Roots is the only thing that held some of the dirt, otherwise it would've washed all the dirt out from under the bins and they're full. So as soon as it gets dried out, guess what's going? This is the third time we've been flooded. This has been the worst.
Since you've lived there? So then you're taking the cut across in? Is cut across open?
I don't think the bridge is.
So how do you-
Jenny,
Oh, you're on this side of the bridge.
yeah,
You're on the,
on the south side of Oakdale.
yeah.
You
so
go
there's-
straight west of the school, you can't go any place but our place,
Oh, okay.
so.
I was thinking that bridge
You want to hear it instead of speech.
going west out of town was out. Right,
Yeah, it is.
That one is.
Uh-huh,
You can get another direction then.
yeah, I go through town to come down there.
Oh, okay, that's right.
All right, I'd like to call, it's 2 o'clock or a little after, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Notice of this emergency board meeting of March 19th, 2019 was posted in the Neligh and Oakdale post offices at the main entrance of the school per board policy 204.07 on Monday, March 18th, 2019. And posted on the school website, Facebook page, and sent to media outlets on Monday, March 18th, 2019. These postings and notices meet the reasonable advance notice requirements for an emergency board meeting per statute 84-1411. Nebraska Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall for patrons to view. All right, roll call of members in attendance, Linda.
Firstnall,
Here.
Hild,
Here.
Ranky,
Here.
Gill, Savatos,
Here.
Quinson.
Here. I did talk to Ron yesterday, and he notified me that, he was gonna be out of town yet, he had prior family engagement commitment, and, he asked me that, or he did tell me I could give his opinion on, the item of business, but he is gone today. I would accept the motion to excuse Ron.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to excuse Ron Gill from the meeting today.
Hild,
Yes.
Ranky,
Yes.
Gill, Savatos,
Yes.
Quinson,
Yes.
Firstnall.
Yes.
All right, new business. Discussion or action of weather emergency in school operation and or reopening. I worked with, well, I've been in contact with Scott since, I guess, Wednesday, the day we got out early. And then when it got to be Friday and Saturday, about developing a plan, what we were gonna do for the rest for school this week. And also with that, I gave him a little bit of direction that we need to talk to our county supervisors and Casey, and so we could let them know what routes are important, and so we have feedback between the two of us. And at that, for the most part, I was adamant that we had school really since Monday forward, or definitely this week, that we could do different things to accommodate those people that are, lack the infrastructure to travel and those types of things, and, I guess, anything else you'd like to add, Scott, to that?
Not necessarily.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to was let the board members have their chance to put out their thoughts on what we should do and how we should handle
contacted Scott, maybe must have been Saturday, or no, maybe not till Sunday. And, I actually went with Scott to the meeting of the supervisors at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Supervisors were all there, and, Casey Dietrich was there, and we listened in and gave our input a little bit on what we thought about us having school and, that type of thing. After that, Mr. Gregory attended a meeting with the,
Emergency management.
emergent management team. And so at that time, you wanna tell us about that meeting and how we got to this point, I
Sure.
guess?
Well, they called a meeting of the area superintendents, so I was there, Dan Polk from Elgin was there, Keith Leckred from Elkhorn Valley, Betty Getzford from Catholic School in Elgin, as well as Dale Martin from Unified District. And so we met, I think that was like at 4 o'clock. They went over a little bit on general conditions of the county. And at that point, the emergency management director, who is Bob Moore, asked that the schools stand down from operation. And he asked for time so that they could be able to work on the roads. There was also some safety issues there as well. And the plan at that time, and still is right now, is that on Wednesday, of course, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, they want to reconvene a meeting with the superintendents again, and that they would give us an update on roads at that time. In your, right behind your agenda there, you'll see, I had an email from Lisa Payne, and that statement's been released to the media as well. The gist of it is that if rain holds off, that they are anticipating perhaps lifting the rural travel ban at Thursday. I believe it's at 6 in the morning. So that's kind of the status there. When I did, I think also what they want to do is at that 1 o'clock meeting, they asked that all the bus routes be turned in. I turned mine in earlier that day of that meeting, and if they would sit down and discuss with us the roadways and routes, conditions of the roads, and kind of work with us in regards to what we're facing. Another handout you have there, and I really didn't do it justice. There's some screenshots you'll see. There's in the county commissioner's room, there's a giant map where it's color coded. Red is closed, orange means there's maintenance work going on it, and blue means it's passable. But one thing that I was informed of is just because it's blue doesn't mean it's gospel that it's good to go. You know, it might not be necessarily fit for a bus. It just means that you know, if you're in a car and you're lucky, you can make it. So there's a lot of colors there, and Lloyd and I went over today, looked at it, looked at a number of people that are in the rural areas, how some of them would make it. Some of them would have to do kind of a jigsaw pattern, great circle route to get through, but otherwise it looked okay. Talked with Corey yesterday and made phone calls with Lloyd, 2 parents. I called the people on Gary's route. Lloyd tackled a number, and Corey did too as well. And we asked, you know, the conditions of the road. Do they feel it's safe? Do they feel it's safe that they can be able to bring their kids in if need be? And I think everyone that I spoke with said yes, that they would be able to work with us, and that they felt that the conditions were safe enough that they could work with us on that. Spoke with Casey last night at 10:30, and for the last couple days they've had 20 trucks, and I think today they've got over 40, and they were all lining up by Royal and to move dirt, kind of shore things up, and to make certain get roads in kind of better shape there. So that was the update that I had from him as well. So basically they're hard at work. They're working working hard to, you know, make the roads improve as best they can. You know, what's the difference between today and another day as opposed to a few days ago? Well, they're moving dirt. They're trying to make things better, and I think conditions can and probably will change on those.
In our building, our facilities are in good operating
Yes,
condition. I mean, there was no water
facilities-
damage with the runoff or anything like
Yeah,
that.
facilities is fine. The gutter above the weight room worked really well. We were okay there. I did stop Friday at West Ward, took a look in the storage, attached shed, if you will, by the gym. The floor was damp. It was wet, but it wasn't like standing water, like I saw on Tuesday. So, facilities are fine. You're good to go there.
Scott, have you been in contact with all of our staff? Are they able to make it to school?
Yes, I've been working with Mrs. Schrader and Mr. Dempsey, and other than a handful of people in the rural areas, we would be ready to go. So,
Is there any, do we have any policies regarding the situation? If there is a travel ban, requesting that we, gotta stand by something that's in our policy book or anything?
well, you know, on that matter, I guess when I attended that meeting with the other superintendents, you know, and heard about the travel conditions, you know, I guess when you look at safety concerns and that kind of thing, I think that's kind of the most important item there. You know, I converse with Casey quite a bit on snow days or days when there's ice or that kind of thing, and you know, I think they do a good job of working with us and giving us good information. You know, I guess I try to just use common sense and defer to their judgment when those concerns are made and brought to me. In regards to regulations and rules, not so much of a district thing. The emergency manager, by statute, does have enforcement power. And so when the governor declares a status of emergency, you know, he can shut us down. And he can serve me a notice, and I would have to obey that notice. And if I don't obey that notice, I can lose my teaching certificate, administrative certificate. I don't think that's the route Mr. Moore would like to go. I think he understands where we're at, and I think, you know, as we use common sense judgment and go from there, I think we'll be okay. But just understand, if that comes down, I'm not gonna have a choice.
If we were to open school this week, will we be running any buses?
You know, I think at this time, running the buses just would not be an advisable thing. I know we're gonna meet tomorrow at 1, and even if they said X, Y, and Z road or whatever can run, typically when we have a situation, bus drivers can call the parents and work with them and that kind of thing. I would prefer to see a thing where we say we'll do the in-town busing for Neligh-Oakdale, CLC, and kids on the rural route, you know, parents need to drive them in. If it's unsafe, they don't feel comfortable, we'll work with them on credits, we won't count absences, we'll show a lot of grace in that regard. So for the high school kids, we have Schoology, Google Classroom, there's a lot of ways we can work with them. And that's the key thing. I mean, if you do open it up, the important thing that's been stressed to me is that we really work hard with the parents to allow kids to make it up. And that no one's racing to come to school at 8 a.m. because they don't want to catch a target, you know, and take an unnecessary risk. But that's the key thing.
When I talked to Ron about this yesterday, he brought it up to me that it was recently in the Neligh News and Leader, I understand that, you remember when, 50 years ago, and I believe in 1969, had a lot of snow that winter, and he said the same thing, that the school board administration put out a statement that those people that live in the country, we don't expect you to get here. If you can't, we understand that, and that's an excused absence, and we're gonna work with you to make up your work, but we're gonna have school. educate the kids that can make it here, and we're gonna be reasonable with the people that can't, because we understand the situation. And I've had that conversation several times with Scott, is that I'm not gonna ask anybody to be unreasonable and try to drive down washout roads, or if that parent doesn't feel safe, because it's gonna be a long time before these roads are fixed. The scope of the problem is so large, and the fact of the matter is, you have to go on with your life, and you have to go to work every day. You know, Nebraska was founded pioneers to figure out a way to make it work, and we've gotta move ahead. And, you know, I talked to my grandmother the other day. She was a senior in high school when 49 Blizzard hit. And at that time, her parents, she lived 22 miles from town, and her parents found somebody to give her room and board in town, so they didn't have to travel. And it was 6 weeks before she ever seen her parents, but she went to school every day. And I think if we could work with people in the country, if those parents do not feel safe driving their children to town in their own vehicle, I completely understand that. But we can have their schoolwork available, because the chances are one of their parents will be coming to town during the week. They can pick up their homework, they can take it back to them and tell because we do need to let the county fix the roads. And, you know, and that was the main thing when I talked to Scott, is that we need to let the county know which roads are important to us, because they're gonna have to prioritize in what things they do. But the problem's so large, they're gonna be working on roads all through next summer. And all the state highways are open. There's no travel ban, there's no question. Coming and going from Neligh is not a problem.
Ryan, do you know the travel ban covers all roads in the county, or just highways? Do you know that?
I don't know that.
Do you know, have you spoke with our attorneys, is there any, if there's a travel ban and we open the doors, saying we're having school, and there's a travel ban that is out there that you're not supposed to drive, you don't have to, or cross roads that they're not recommended, but since we open the doors, are we in liability if someone gets in an accident because we have the doors and they're using that excuse that we're coming here?
And I have asked that, and basically, the key thing is the flexibility, that we're willing to work with people, we'll excuse absences, we'll allow them to make up work and that kind of thing. As long as you do that, you're okay, you're good.
During a travel ban?
During a travel ban, yes, because we were asked not to have school. But if someone does go into the ditch, I mean, anyone can file a lawsuit, just like the old saying is, anyone can indict a ham sandwich. Whether they'll be successful, I highly doubt it, because the attorney felt very good as long as we were flexible and we publicized that and we made it widely known, we were okay, that we're showing good faith effort. The key thing in that is a reasonable standard. And if it's reasonable, that we're willing to work with people, and, you know, and if they believe that they can make it, and, you know, that reasonable standard is the key thing. So, from their ground of things, they feel comfortable with the action. If they did not, in previous conversations on separate issues I've had, it's kind of been, well, Scott, no, don't even go there, you know, and that wasn't this kind of conversation at all. You only get to that red line is when you're talking about that notice or writ of ceasing operation. That's a red line.
When did you have a conversation with our lawyers? Today?
I had a conversation today, and I had a conversation yesterday.
My biggest concern is, kind of like Kevin said too, is where does the liability lay? Also on the travel ban, I mean, I think we are pushing things very hard on trying to do something, say tomorrow, with the travel ban still in effect. The county's obviously working, they are overlaying roads, they're trying to get stuff fixed. But at the same time, I don't want things snowballing and all of a sudden, okay, it's next Monday, Tuesday, and we're still not in session. I guess my question, Scott, have you had any comments from any other superintendents? Or in my mind, I think we're kinda alone doing this compared to the rest of the schools in the county.
We are, I texted Dale and Keith yesterday, and are you guys still carrying on, or, you know, what's the plan? And as far as I know, they intend to still follow it. I know the Unified had a meeting last night. I have not heard any of the proceedings from that meeting. I think they probably discussed it.
Cause I had some conversations this morning, and we can't control the weather, obviously, that's one thing out of our hands. The Thursday morning situation sounds like a very possible thing to come to fruition.
Right,
That was my concern, I expressed, I don't want this turning into other events where it's taken months to get back where the infrastructure's there and ready to go, but if we can get that travel ban lifted, all the roads, they're in the process of flagging roads and marking roads, so they know exactly which ones are passable and which ones aren't. That's something we don't have right exactly at the moment. That map's the closest thing we have right now.
No, the thing about it is with liability is we're not asking people to come to school if they feel uncomfortable. I mean, the majority, we will probably have, if we open up school tomorrow, I would bet on average, we have more kids sick on a daily basis than can't make it here.
But all the other circumstances, Ryan, with the storms and everything, we've never been in an emergency declaration. We've never had an emergency manager coming to us and saying, hey, there's a travel ban, we can't technically have travel. I understand that it's.
Corey, did you come to town today?
Mhm.
Are you gonna travel ban?
Yep, a mailman made it to my mailbox past 2 days. And I believe the postmaster was at the meeting on Sunday. Mail's being delivered in rural county. Did you get your mail today?
I don't get it until probably 5 o'clock. One of my road is one that's been patched, it's been fixed, it's been covered, it's in the process of being fixed.
Yes. I think it's important to note that we contacted all of our patrons that are on our rural bus routes. And I feel the school that did the due diligence to reach out to them and ask them, you know, how are your roads? Are you able to make it to a major highway or a major blacktop and make it to town? Every patron that I spoke with said yes. They said, if you have school, we'll get the kids there. And I said, well, that's good to hear. You know, we want to make sure that you're safe. And I told that to every one of them. And I talked to, I believe I talked to 15 families. And every one of them said that, you know, they thought the roads, they could make it safely. And so I think it's important if we open up the school that we make sure these patrons know that, you know, they need to contact us and let us know, be communication that, hey, we can or we can't make it. We're not feeling like it's safe to travel. I'm all for having the school open tomorrow. I believe it's important to get these kids. We have 380 kids in the school district, and there's 40 kids on our rural bus routes.
It's a good figure.
So there's 340 kids in the town of Neligh and Oakdale that are very accessible by buses, staying on town roads and highway roads. So there's 340 kids that will make it to school tomorrow very easily. And the other ones, we're giving the ability to either make up their homework, do online courses. I'm sure we have all things we can do with that, with the computers, that all the one-to-one that the high schoolers have if they're unable to make it in. I have a lot of faith of the people in Antelope County that they can make good, right, and just decisions on whether they think it's safe to travel or not. I have a lot of faith in these people in Antelope County and rural areas. Because they all gotta get up and they all gotta go to work every day. And I know that those people in the rural areas have been going to work. Did you make it to town, Kenny?
Obviously, Corey.
Did you travel on a county road with a travel ban?
Yes.
Did you get a citation?
It's also listed that farmers and livestock caretakers can travel the roads. It's more to keep.
Coming to town for a school board meeting, is that part of your job too?
No, it's not, but it's also to keep the general public and sightseers off the road so the county crews can work.
And I agree with that.
That's the main.
And I don't believe by opening the school, we're allowing sightseers to go out on the county roads. We're merely allowing the option of students to come to school and do their learning. And that's what I'm here to support today, is to get these kids to school safely so they can go back to learning. I live 9 miles out in rural Antelope County. And we've got some bad roads, but we do have a blacktop that's accessible in my area. And there are 4 other families just off of that blacktop road that I know can make it to town. I've spoke with all of them. And they'd all be okay with bringing their kids to town. Kids have been out of school now, it's been 6 days. And we don't know when the roads are gonna be fixed. We hope that they are getting fixed quickly. But they're not all gonna be fixed this week, next week, or in a month. And so we can't just put the fear in everybody that, what are we gonna do? Sky's falling. We all gotta go back to work and these kids gotta go back to school.
To me, it's a real life lesson about work ethic and getting up and, I got cattle to feed every day. I've gotta be there. There's no snow days, no fog days, you gotta be there. And I expect the same out of some of my employees, I gotta be there to feed too, and I expect the same out of my kids. And it's my understanding when I called Mr. Gregory yesterday that Pierce was gonna have school today, is that correct?
I believe you're right, yeah.
That they didn't have school yesterday, but they had school today. And Ewing had school yesterday. And the conditions are worse east of here than they are here. Pierce actually had water in their town. I mean, they had to evacuate part of the town late last week, and they still found a way to have school today.
They have water on the streets. I was just there yesterday. My wife works in Pierce. She had to get to work this morning. She's an optometrist. She had to go over there. And I drove over to Pierce last night. I had to take a detour to get there because the bridge was out. But when I got to Pierce, there's streets that are flooded in Pierce. I don't think we have any streets that are flooding in Neligh, do we?
Not that I know of either, and that's the whole thing. Of the 40 kids, you know, we're gonna get 90% of our kids here. And we're not asking those people on the rural routes that are affected by these roads, because when I first talked to Scott about this, Sunday and Saturday was that, Scott, the problem is of not having school is once you go down this road, is the roads are in such poor shape. There's so many areas to fix. There's so many areas, so many roads that are in poor shape. They can't dramatically improve from day to day. They just can't. There's too many things to fix. I mean, those guys they're doing a good job. They're working hard. And that's why the school district can make accommodations for those students that live in the country. And that's what we have things like one-to-one for. And Mr. Gill told me the same thing. He said, Ryan thinks if they could do it 50 years ago, they should be able to do it today with all the technology that we have. And, you know, and people, I'm not gonna insult the intelligence of the people in rural Antelope County by me telling them what they can and can't do. They're smart, they're intelligent. They'll work with their neighbors. If Kenny's headed to town and they don't want their child to go, they say, Kenny, are you going into town? Could you pick up my son's homework? I think there's a lot of things like that where people can work together so we can get through this.
I spoke with a neighbor of mine, Travis Weebelhouse, and him and his wife both work in the town of Neligh. And I asked him about if we were gonna go have school. I said, were you able to get to town? Well, yeah, we can get to town. I'm going to work and I'm bringing my kids to town to daycare. And they have been since the flood's been happening. And you can just go down the list and everybody's getting out and about and they're finding out the roads that they can take and the roads that they can't take. And I guess I have a lot of faith in those people. And I feel that they're able to make those decisions on their own. And I think all we can do is we can support our school and keep moving forward and help out with the education of the kids.
So Scott, where do we sit right now if we would, when we go back to school, when the end of the school year would be? Are we like taking Easter breaks off now? Are we
Well,
gonna still have them, or?
Been talking to Mr. Dempsey, Administrator, about that, and I think it's a thing of, we have a couple early outs scheduled for professional development. If we went full days on those, I think it would be a thing that would help. I've also talked with Ms. Hanson, who's active with the Education Association, and it's in their contract that they get out early on Fridays. If they could accommodate us for a number of Fridays, we could make up hours that way too. if we don't do anything like that, the week of May 20th, I am looking to add a couple days there. That's a pretty light week in regards to activities. I feel pretty confident we can rack up the hours that week and be fine. The other thing too is, right before this meeting, I called the Nebraska Department of Ed. They're gonna send an email to all the superintendents in the state. They wanna know, A, who's needing for school, who's not. They're gonna release a fact statement of different things. And basically what their emphasis is, safety first, and they'll work with districts on a case-by-case basis. If schools are having a hard time meeting those minimum hours of instruction or anything else. The only other item that I can think of would be complication would be paperwork relating to the lunch program. But all that's easy things. The Rule 10 waiver for hours, that's always been a part of the rules there. That's always been an accessible thing for districts, so that's not gonna change at all. So we'll get our hours in. I think we'll be okay. I don't see us going past that week of May 20th. If need be, they've shown a lot of, I think, flexibility, and we'll show flexibility in working with us. So no issues there. I have no concerns in regards to that. So.
Well, it's still possible we could have snow days,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you know, from that aspect.
Well, the problem is what if we get a big rain event, Scott?
I
We get a
agree.
2-incher and then our roads go to crap again, and then,
The problem that scares me is during the travel day. I have nothing against going on school on Thursday. I have a problem going tomorrow. Liability part.
I don't think there's any liability on our part. We've simply opened up the
Okay,
school,
you know,
and if.
that's your opinion.
Well, I'm just
Well, we
going
have
by
legal
what.
counsel, our school's attorney said that. I mean, that's the thing.
But,
What was the comment that Scott made on being able to lose a certificate if
Exactly.
you would go against travel?
Well, that's if we
That's
get
if
served
it's
with a
served.
notice.
That's if the sheriff decides to serve us,
Yes.
and he thinks we shouldn't be having school.
I wish Bob was here. Was he invited?
Well, I did speak to him earlier today. I mentioned you guys were meeting at 2, and I said there's a very distinct possibility that we could reopen. I think Bob's angle on things is, tomorrow at 1, they're going to have basically all the roads marked. They're gonna have everything flagged. They're gonna be able to, basically have all their bases covered. And they feel that for the schools, they will have everything we need to know to resume safe rural travel operation. And as I understand it now, they've ordered, I want to say I saw the number of like 600 different barriers or markers or that kind of thing. So I think it's a thing from their angle. They just want to get everything marked and taken care of before they say, all right, have at it. Because the roads will be, like you guys said, will be in various states of disrepair. But if they're marked and they're flagged, then it's user beware, and I think their angle is if you go ahead of that and those aren't marked, well, then people take their own risk.
And that's the whole thing. I'm staying out of those people's way. I'm not out gawking at county roads. I'm going to work, going down the roads I need to. And as on this school board, I'm trying to represent the district. I'm trying to represent the 90% of kids that can go to school tomorrow. And the other 10%, this school district is more than willing to make accommodations so they can also get an education starting tomorrow. Because even if they're home today, not doing any schoolwork, school's not in session, they could be working on those things. And we have legal standing from our attorney that we don't have any liability if we state that if you can't make it, it's an excused absence. We understand, we're gonna work with you. And we have all the legal standing from the opinion of our lawyer, our attorney.
But have you been contacted by any rural residents?
No, I've had no phone calls from parents, or anything. The only contact that I've had, even remotely about this issue, is the email from a student that you have on the table. That they asked for me to share with you. That's all I've heard.
Here's my opinion, we're already behind the 8 ball. We should have, the storm and this weather, I think the worst of it was last week. We could have had an emergency meeting, and maybe got some ball rolling here earlier in the week. Now I feel like we should work with our county officials, and I sure hope they're accurate on opening the travel ban on Thursday. We've let parents and patrons know school is gonna be closed till Wednesday. I'm not pleased with it, I agree with kids need being here, but I think we're already in a situation now we just gotta stick with and, move forward that direction. I mean, legally, my biggest thing is liability. I would hate for anybody to get injured. I mean, liability or not, and yes, it can happen a week from now, it can happen a month ago, you can be driving down the road and get injured and stuff, and trying to get to school. And of course, we're not liable just because the door's open, but, kind of what Scott hit on, I guess, that travel ban, it's out there. Should abide by it and go from there, since we've already canceled school for 3 days, up till Wednesday.
Scott, you don't see buses running in the foreseeable future, do you?
No.
So even if we wait till Wednesday, or Thursday, we're not running buses in the country.
Even if he said, Bob said, hey, these routes are open, you could go this way, I just would not feel comfortable with that. I just, yeah, a bus weighs 30,000 pounds, but you get some sand and loose material under it. It's just like having your sofa on a coaster. Anyone can kind of push it around. I just would not feel comfortable with that.
So even is it safe to say for the duration of the school year, we're gonna need to continue to work with rural residents on getting to school, putting their homework, those types of things, accommodations will need to be made?
I wouldn't ban the buses from the rest of the year, but for the foreseeable, at least for a couple weeks. And then reassess in a couple weeks there. Mhm.
What is our last scheduled day of school? I mean, before
It goes May 17th was a teacher work day, May 16th was the last student day. With the one outing, it was May 17th and the teacher work day on the 20th, so I imagine we'll probably add another 2 or 3 days, and then the teacher work day would be May 23rd. So that they get their 185 teacher days in.
I guess to Kevin's point, I don't believe we're behind the 8 ball. I think the school has done their due diligence and checked with our residents that are rural, and we've done all that we can do. And I guess
I think we've done more than we can do. I mean, to go above it
I mean,
and
to
count
keep
all
talking-
those, to call all those people individually that live in the rural areas, to have this special meeting, to do
very proactive.
extremely proactive.
I'm not sitting around and waiting to the county to tell me when I'm gonna go feed my cows. I mean, they gonna tell you when you can go work on that building?
No, they're not gonna tell me, Corey.
So I think this is a very valid point here that we've got, that we have a school that's in town, and we have people that can access the school. We've got staff that can come to the school. Mr. Gregory's been in contact with all the staff. We've made, we have meals, is that correct? You've been in contact with
Yes.
Donna
Yeah,
Keel, we
Donna,
have
we
meals
did.
available.
We have food coming out our ears.
We have lunch staff that can make it to school.
Mhm.
No, I've been in contact with Scott since Wednesday when I could tell that this flood was something that I hadn't seen before, that water was in areas it typically doesn't, and the conditions of the roads were deteriorating in, I called you a little before 11. I said, Scott, this is not your run-of-the-mill storm. And I said, the thing is, I don't want anybody stranded at the school, because that's what it's coming to. Yeah, I said, so, we need to we can try to get school out as soon as we can. I said, I don't want you to panic, But I said, you know, if people need to make accommodations in town or whatever, that's where this is going. And so Scott and his team got on the ball and they had school out by, I don't know, 11:20 or 11:30 or something. So they acted fast, and in the same way, we've been in contact, I don't think I called you Thursday, but every day since
Pretty much.
Thursday, Friday on, that what are we gonna do? What's our plan? How can we get around this? Because it was obvious by Saturday that these roads were not gonna be fit for travel anytime soon. And that's nobody's fault. That's not the county's fault. Those people are doing what they can. And that for us to develop a plan so we can move ahead and do what we do, and that's educate children. And do it in a safe manner, and to let people know that doors are open, things are gonna be different, but we're gonna work with you.
Have you guys looked at the bus routes? Do you know where the bus routes go according to this map? Mr. Greger and I have studied all that over, and I guess that's why I'm making a recommendation to have the school tomorrow. Because I feel, in talking with all these rural residents, that they can make their own decision on whether they can make it to town, but I feel very confident that there's safe roads out there that they can make it. Because I would like to include the rural residents in coming to school. You know. Now, if I looked at this map and we looked at our bus routes are different than a lot of the other school districts in the county. If you look at this large county map, like down around Elgin and Oakdale, a lot more of their area is ruined and bridges out. The Neligh-Oakdale district didn't have as much damage as some of that area, those other areas did. So we've been very fortunate. And that's why with 14 going north, a lot of those people from the north, whether they can get to 14 or they can come south to 275, it's a logistics thing. If you looked at the map and said, well, nobody can go anywhere, well, sure. But we've sat down, we've taken it apart, we've taken 2 days looking at all these bus routes and determined, hey, this is the route that we should go. We're not recommending having buses running. I think running the bus to Oakdale is okay on the state highway, running around Oakdale, unless we receive word that Oakdale's flooded. I think it's okay to run the bus routes in Neligh. So we're not coming at this blind and not knowing any information. We've been working to get these kids back to school. I really don't think that's a bad thing. We're trying to do it the safest way that we can.
And I appreciate it, and I personally have not looked into all that logistics and anything. From what it sounded, we could have had school on Monday.
Yes, because nothing's changed from Monday to Wednesday.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I just feel like and I didn't mean to, maybe the 8 ball is already off. I mean, I felt like we could have had school Monday, but now we made a commitment, we started something to Wednesday. And the
Through
travel
Wednesday.
ban, what's that?
Through Wednesday.
And
That
we're
was
going
a-
to be married to it, I guess, but
The board wasn't able to get together on Sunday afternoon. I really think after this happened, the board should have gotten together and been able to make a decision or come together with some ideas. This big of a scope, I don't think should fall just on the superintendent.
no.
So we weren't able to we didn't get together then. Had we got together, I really think we'd have made that decision. We'd maybe had a late start on Monday and we'd started school. And so I don't wanna allow this whole travel ban thing to come over our heads because it affects 10% of our population. And those 10%, we're allowing them a get out of school free card. But we'd sure like to get them their homework though. So I would make the motion that we have school tomorrow.
There's been a motion made to open the school for business tomorrow. Is there a second? If nobody else is willing to second, I will second that motion. Roll call, Linda.
Okay. Firstna,
Yes.
Hill,
No.
Ranky,
No.
Savatos,
No.
Coinsett.
Yes. I would accept accept the motion to open school on Thursday.
I'll make a motion to open school on Thursday.
I'll second it.
I kinda changed mine. I'll make a motion to open school on Thursday if the travel band is released Thursday morning at 6 AM, which is, I understand it's tough. We can't,
I'll know that tomorrow by 1.
okay. I make a motion to open school on Thursday if the emergency management team lifts the band Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
So if they don't lift it, we're just at their mercy? Is that,
My question is Boone County, is Wheeler County, is Holt County, is Knox County under travel, Madison County, Pierce County under travel bans? Those counties are having school. That's the only thing I'm leaning on. I'm worried about the liability part.
And
If it wasn't for the liability, yes, I'm for having school, but we can still finish through the week of the 20th of May.
And on the liability, what information are you basing that on, Scott, on that we have liability?
So I talked to someone that was working with Bob Moore, checking or closing the roads or inspecting the roads in this Irma or whatever for the liability. So for the county's liability,
And is that person an attorney?
no.
so you're worried about the county's liability or
No, I'm
the
not
school
worried about,
districts?
I'm worried about the schools, cause they told me it would be put back onto the school if we opened school during the travel ban.
And this was our attorney?
No, it wasn't our attorney.
Was it an attorney?
No.
So this individual's not an attorney, they're not the school's attorney, and we're going against the advice of the school's attorney. Cause the school's attorney says we don't have liability if we open school and we make accommodations for people who can't get there, is that correct, Scott?
Yes, they feel that they would be able to put a good defense for us, and that we would be in a very good position. If we were not in a good
There wasn't an
position,
affirmative yes or no.
Let's call him.
So, did you guys get your email yesterday from the Nebraska Department of Education? The third paragraph? At this point, I simply ask that the school officials make the best decisions regarding the safety and well-being of their respectful students, staff, and communities. I shared a similar message with a group of superintendents on a conference call yesterday, and just want to reiterate that we will be addressing the long-term policy questions asked are related to rules and regulations. And I guess that paragraph is one that stuck out.
And I agree with that paragraph. And I believe that Neligh-Oakdale is doing all that we can to take care of the safety and welfare of the students, as well as looking out for their social aspects and getting them into the classroom. Well, that's what we're here to do. I think we're all on the same page. It's just that we're trying to get there a couple different ways.
I guess the liability scares me.
Let's
I
call
want
our
my
lawyer,
kids to go to
Scott.
school.
I understand that.
I
And
do.
if I felt that way, if he told us it's okay, what are you gonna say then? You gonna believe him? Or you wanna
Well,
believe
we've
Irma?
already made a statement that we're closed through Wednesday.
The biggest thing with the county, and that was a lot of volunteers, a lot of individuals that went out yesterday, and we're still doing it this morning to map those roads. A lot of the other counties have not done that. They don't have that map. That's more for emergency personnel and everybody. If there's a fire call or if there's an accident, they know where they can go get them. I know just watching on social media today, there's messes out there, guys. For Pierce, for instance, Hater Road, the old Hater
I've
Road.
been out there, I didn't turn social media on, I've been out there, I didn't have to,
The old Hater Road, I'll just take that as an example. That's Pierce's route to Norfolk, basically. That's about the easiest route. Madison County went out there and put road closed signs on their county line of the Hater Road to stop traffic on it. Now there's people with kids in
Are they
school
having,
in Norfolk.
are they having school in Pierce today?
Yes, they're having school in Pierce, they're having school in
And
Norfolk.
they don't have any of these road marks?
They don't-
But
I
in
don't- to
Antelope
my
County,
knowledge,
all
they
of our
don't.
roads are marked in Antelope County.
On that map, yes.
So any person in Antelope County probably get this, right? Any of our rural residents, anybody in town can get it and say, hey, you know what, I haven't been over here yet, but it looks like I better not go there. Can you do that in Pierce County?
I don't know, I don't live in Pierce County.
Well, you just told me they haven't went out and marked it.
I was assuming they had.
Well, I'm not assuming. I'm going by the facts here, and I'm going by the fact that we have this map, and this really gives me a lot of faith that people can look at this and know that when I live over here, if I haven't been out, which every person I talked to had been out, felt they had make it to town safely, and those are the, I'm not using assumptions, I'm using facts.
The only other thing too to consider is that letter that Lisa Payne sent us. I mean, they're anticipating lifting the ban. And unless there's change in conditions, you know, Thursday's fine. We have time during the week of May 20th. The kids are gonna get their time in. Teachers are gonna get their time in. We're fine if we have snow days or we have worse weather. There's exemptions I can file. There's phone calls that I can make to beg and plead with Lincoln on a number of things too. So I can make that work.
Would you restate your motion, Kevin? You don't have anything wrote down, do you, Linda?
But I can rewrite.
Just so we're clear, cause there's been a motion and Scott seconded it. But would you like, what do you have for a motion so far, Linda?
That Kevin made a motion to approve resuming at 6 o'clock AM on Thursday if the travel ban has been lifted, and that would be from the meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Okay,
That's my
is
motion.
that acceptable?
That's, yes.
Okay, there's been a motion made, it's been seconded by Scott.
Yes.
Roll call vote, please, Linda.
Okay, Firstnot,
No.
Bill,
Yes.
Ranky,
Yes.
Savatos,
Yes.
Queenson.
No. Motion passed. So we're gonna determine when we have school based on travel ban for the county, correct? I see no further business at this meeting. I would ask for adjournment.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you guys for coming in today. You'll still be here though, right, Scott? Tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, yep. You're good.
Yes, yes, I do very well. Hello. Hey, Joan. Hi.
Did you get my good side, Jenny?
Of course.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Sure.
I'll come back later.
Okay, just to clarify, I thought you told me the 17th was gonna be the last day for kids.